because I had to save. Well, here I am on the bridge. Well, you know, I'm going to get tired. If you don't pull yourself up, I don't know if I can hang on.
You got to pull me up, or else I'm going to die.
Yeah, that's true. It's a long way down. Now we're ready to think about Samson. How is it that Samson gets so entangled? I guess I can make this easier on myself here. How is it that he stays entangled? Well, we know a few things about Samson if we look at the rest of the story. We know that he's kind of a lover boy. I mean, really. He's had a bunch of these Philistine romances. This is actually the third one with Delilah. But what's different here is that the first one, the Bible tells us this was from the Lord. And the Lord was using that relationship as a way to confront Israel's enemies. Okay, but the third time here with Delilah, there's no mention of that. Samson is just after the babe. Apparently Delilah had something about it. So he goes running after her, and it seems like maybe it's not really about God. Maybe it's more about Samson's feelings. You know, she's a beautiful young woman from the Valley of Sorek. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't? But meanwhile, Delilah is not subtle about the way that she manipulates Samson. She's not subtle at all. She just out and out tells him, hey, you have to tell me the secret of your strength. And she does this 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and then nagging him day after day. Why in the world does Samson let this happen? I mean, is he like some kind of meathead? He's all brawn and no brains? What's his deal? Why does he stay in this relationship? Well, I don't think it's not that he's, I don't think he's unintelligent. After all, Samson has...
A little help here?
Yeah, I got you. I gotta keep going. I have a sermon to preach. So, Samson is a clever guy. He's actually played riddle games with the Philistines before as well. That's another part of the story. He's actually stumped the Philistines. Well, right up until his then-girlfriend wheedled the answer out of him. Wait a minute. Samson's had this before. The wily woman who's tricking him and handing him over to his enemies. Well, before everything worked out in the end, but Samson, what is your deal? I mean, well, perhaps he probably does know that Delilah's up to something. He probably has a good guess on it. But one wonders if Samson doesn't just want the love. You know, Samson, you might as well face it, you're addicted to love. So he stays in a relationship. He just hangs on and gets entangled, right? He follows his feelings. You know, and he's justified her behavior. You know, she's kind of a player, but I ain't gonna hate the player, I'm gonna hate the game. Plus she's pretty. Yeah, Samson, sure. So somehow it's like Samson can't let go of this relationship. He can't. He needs it. And he tells himself that it's love, and yet in fact maybe it's just that he needs to be wanted. So he stays entangled. And what eventually happens in those kinds of situations, and what happens here, is that inch by inch, day by day, a relationship like that will shove God aside, make room for only itself, for following one's own feelings. And then what happens? Well, then there's trouble. You know, I need to tell you a true story, an example of what this is like. There's a young man who started dating a young woman. They had a good relationship, they were teens. And one day she said to him that, you know, she really struggled with depression. Okay, it's very common. About 25% of people on the planet have some episode of diagnosable clinical depression. Okay. So he tried to work her through it, pray with her, pray about her. But then, later one night, as curfew was approaching, she said, hey, you know, you can't leave. You can't go home yet because I'm afraid I might do something if you leave. I might hurt myself. And so he stayed and came home late. Well, the parents were not particularly pleased by this development. And yet, night after night, she'd do that. No, you can't leave. No, you can't leave. I need you. So he'd stay. He tried to explain, but he was entangled. There was just no way out. And so much depended on him. So much did. Well, nothing confuses morality like a bad relationship, a toxic one. But I need to deal with this bridge situation again.
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay. Well, listen. I've been thinking.
Okay.
I think there's another solution because I have somewhere to be in life.
Which is here.
No, on the other side of the city. I'm going somewhere. I have a job interview. I think this is important. So just, can you, hang on. I got to find something to tie onto. Well, I got this seat here and things that fall apart. Or maybe a passerby. Anybody else on the bridge? You want to, I'll just help me out here. I need you guys. I need somebody, right? You guys are kind of slow. Well, so here I am in this predicament.
Come on, you gotta pull me up here. If I die, my life is dependent on you.
Yeah, well, I can see that, but I feel kind of trapped. See, because if I stay here, I miss out on what the rest of life has, and you're not exactly helping. But if I go, yeah, you're right. This is terrible. I'm going to wrap that rope around again, just to be sure. Now I begin to think to myself, how do I get out of this situation? Hey, I got an idea. I'll just pitch myself over the edge and we'll both go. Hey, what do you think? What if I just throw myself off?
That's a terrible idea.
Well, that'll teach you a lesson. You shouldn't give people ropes on bridges.
I'm trying to teach you a lesson. You gotta save people for once.
For once, yeah. Well, you're kind of hard to save.
Picky.
Well, and so it is that human beings stay entangled, don't we? Oh, we do. We stay entangled, and there we hang. What this is called is enablement. Enablement. Where someone else's bad behavior is kept up by the very fact that someone else is creating conditions that allow the bad behavior to continue. Oh, but this is saving somebody. This is love. Or maybe it's my need to think I'm really the Savior. Maybe I'm needing to feel myself so important in this relationship that I just can't do anything but stay stuck. Well, these relationships do erode your sense of self and your sense of direction in life. It happens with Samson too. By the third time that Delilah asks him, it's like he gets closer to the truth. He gets tired out. He says this thing about the loom and the pin, but it's about his hair. See, he's closer. He's closer to the reality. He's weakening. Well, it's still not quite the whole truth, nothing but the truth. So she begins to nag him day after day after day. And then he became as weak as any other man, quite frankly. Then he gave in. He gave in to the nagging and fine. He was tired to death of it. He told her the truth, and right away she calls the Philistines, has his head shaved. And the saddest part of the story is that he does not even realize when he wakes up. Verse 20, he does not realize that the Lord had left him. All those years serving God, all those years of strength, all those years of the Spirit of God on him. And now, in the midst of this relationship, he doesn't even know that anything has changed. He doesn't even know that he's pushed God aside in the name of staying entangled with Delilah. You know, it's not just romance where this kind of stuff happens. It can happen in families between parents and children too. I mean, I suppose a few weeks ago you all saw on the news the guy in New York, the 30-year-old was living in his parents' basement, and they finally decided to evict him because they said, you know what, everything we've tried to do for you has not changed you a bit. You will not take responsibility for yourself. So you got to go, son. And you can't tell me that he never wheedled to them and said, you know, if you really love me, if you really care, you're going to let me live in the basement as long as I need. As long as I need. Well, son, we do love you, but it's time to make a change. It's time that you grow up. You got to take responsibility for yourself. And he would say, no, that's not love at all. You're not helping me. I need you. I stayed entangled for a great many years. What made the news was when something actually changed. Entanglements. They're hard to get out of, aren't they? What about real love? Maybe tough love is the only real love that there really is. Now, if you're in an enabling relationship right now, chances are you've seen one before. Maybe it was in your parents where mom was constantly justifying the bad behavior of dad and his constant demands and constant need for her to act and do his responsibilities all the time. You grew up with that, and that's just normal for you, so you find yourself in it once again. Your heart's trying to figure it out, but all you are is entangled. Or maybe there are these romance situations, maybe there's even a bad friendship. Where it's not really a friendship, it's more of a one-way street. It's not a relationship, it's just you needing to be needed, and so you stay in it. Round and round you go. Entangled you stay. Because someone needs to be saved. Well, Samson, for his part, he's finally beaten. Gives in, everything is taken from him. And because he did not recognize the relationship that he was in and how it was eroding his sense of relationship with God, God left him. He was so inoculated, so numb to what was happening, so numb to the enablement of Delilah, God left him. You know, for church people, I think we all have a sense that God does want us to live a certain way. He has certain things for us, and yet sometimes we find ourselves caught up in these relationships. Do we let them get in the way? Well, if you're enabling, what's really going on is that you're engaged in a form of idolatry. It goes like this. If you're enabling, and as we've heard here, I need you to save me. And we begin to believe that we are the Savior. We begin to believe that someone else really has to have us and that there's no one else that could step in. And that in fact, God is involved if only through us. And so we make ourselves the Savior. We take the place of Christ in other people's lives. And this is why, when we do that, people do not change. When we need to be the Savior, when we set ourselves up as the most important person in somebody else's life, and they think they need us, and we think they need us so badly that we enable them to continue in irresponsible ways, put ourselves in God's place. But we're not the saviors. We're just the saved. We're the people who need to be hauled up on the other end of the road. And as Christians, if you're a Christian, you're a witness, but you're not the Savior. You're the one pointing to the Savior. You're the one saying, you need Jesus. Christ can change your life. And in fact, God's grace is the only kind of grace that can truly change somebody from within and transform them and make them a new person. Now that grace might come through you, but it needs to come through love. And in fact, I think tough love, the longer I go in ministry, tough love is the only form of love there is. Love that isn't tough, that doesn't ask people to become all that God has for them to become, isn't love at all. It's enablement. Help without discipleship is enablement. Money without change can often be enablement. You know, that bad friendship because you got to have it. Because, you know, they're popular, that can be enablement. Well, nothing confuses morality like a bad relationship. And so now we come to the conclusion. Maybe we wish Samson could have learned this part. But listen, you.
Yeah.
You rope dangler.
It's been a while.
Yeah. I haven't forgotten about you, but I've come to a conclusion. Saving you is not up to me.
Excuse me?
I mean, I got this rope and I got the gloves. I appreciate the gloves, thanks. But, you know, it's like you planned this. Like, you kind of planned to hijack my day and my whole life. So, we're going to make a change.
Okay.
I need you to start hauling yourself up.
Hauling myself up? Do I look like The Rock? I can barely haul myself up. You need to do this.
Yeah, tell you what if you wind it up around you a little bit? Like just kind of wind right around your waist. Yeah, there you go. Now
this is not gonna work.
Well,
I told you this. You need to pull me up. It's all or nothing.
If you don't, it will be all or nothing. If you don't start pulling yourself up, it will be time for me to let go.
Let go?
Yeah, to let go.
Okay.
But this is your choice. You can pull yourself up, or you don't have to, but it's up to you. I no longer accept responsibility for your salvation.
I gave you one choice. You're going to have to pull me up.
Well, then I accept your choice.
What?
I accept what you've decided to do.
I'm going to die.
You can still pull yourself up.
No.
But if not,
you're going to have to do this. It's
No.
on you.
down she goes. Now, with the end of that fable, your job, people of God, is to go home and talk about it. Go home and think carefully about the relationships that are in your life. Go home and think about the entanglements that get so complicated. And ask yourself if there isn't a relationship in your life that is in fact toxic to your relationship to God. That isn't in fact trying to move God aside, trying to get you to deviate from God's path for you. And if so, are you prepared to exercise some tough love? Are you prepared to set boundaries and say, God has asked this of me, this far and no further. And you, God asked this of you, but I cannot save you. When you do that, you put Jesus right back where he ought to be. He's the only Savior there is. And you're not him. We're the saved. We're the witnesses. He's the one who gets the glory. Amen. Pray with me.